Hey everyone, welcome to Reading the Green and our golf DFS show. My name is Mike. Jordan and Kyle here on Tuesday, November 1st for the Mayakoba preview. Of course, we'll talk about the Bermuda Championship and a couple of other things as usual. Guys, how you doing tonight? Jordan, golf today?
Doing great. Yes, November golf. Love it. Love it. It was what, 70 outside today. I wore pants and I was sweating.
Poor choice. Poor choice.
But it's one of those things like you go outside, but you're in your garage, which is like hasn't seen the sun all day. The door's been closed for 2 hours, and I was like, oh, it's cold.
Yeah.
I put a pullover on, which lasted 5 minutes once I got it to the golf course, but it was perfect day.
It was a beautiful day, and I'm finally recording in a different location. We'll call this the city studio. We have the West studio, we have the East studio, and now we got the city studio. So getting close, finally stationary. But it was a beautiful day to be moving stuff around as well.
I even rode my bike to work, so I guess we all took advantage of it. That meant that last night was Halloween, and that was fabulous weather to be out trick-or-treating, and just the whole weekend, I think, if you're out and about.
It was great. It was great. Like I would take that for Halloween every year. Because last year it was cold, chilly.
The neighborhood was much busier this year than it has been in a while.
Yeah,
I think I saw it was the warmest Halloween in, I want to say, 30 years.
Had to be. Yeah, it was great. It was great. I spent the weekend actually in Iowa City, as you guys know, because I am a newly minted Hawk.
I thought I smelled something. Didn't realize it was both of you.
And you thought I just grabbed this sweatshirt haphazardly.
I wish that we had this planned, Jordan, but we didn't actually have it planned. I'm a new Hawk after spending the week going to the football game, seeing Iowa score the most points they scored in a game all year. It was incredible.
Look at the high-powered offense.
Wait,
I know.
What they get? 14, 21?
33.
Wow, wait. Did they play a doubleheader?
No, they played Northwestern.
Oh, okay.
I might have texted you guys this joke, but my son completely dunked on the Iowa Hawkeyes, 5-year-old, says, he goes, he likes to draw out football games, but he goes, Daddy, I think Iowa's either going to win 7-3 or 10-7 because that's what they usually score.
Well, it was fun to be there. They it was nice weather. They put on a good show. And for those that are listening, I'm sporting a new Iowa Hawkeye shirt that I picked up at the bookstore. But not why I wanted to bring up Iowa, because I actually have a golf betting point that I want to get your guys' take on. Jordan as like the digital and marketing guy, and Kyle as the sports betting expert. All right.
I'm glad you didn't say the guy that didn't get his picks in last week.
Yeah, no. We'll get to that when we get to the listener league. So obviously I'm in Iowa all weekend, and we talked about this last week. Like all I gotta do is open up the DraftKings Sportsbook app and I can bet. And on the way home, after we passed Diamond Joe and we passed the Minnesota border, about like 20 minutes across the border, I get a notification from the DK Sportsbook app that is offering me a boost on Josh Allen to throw at least one touchdown in the game on Sunday night. And the boost went from minus 1,400 to plus 10,000. Max bet $1. So,
well, it's unfortunate the max bet was $1. Otherwise, you're turning around and going back to.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
So hold on. I want to talk about this. So the max bet is $1, and it's limited. So I can win $100 if he throws a touchdown. Obviously, he's going to throw a touchdown. And we were about 20, 30 minutes into Minnesota. And so my question, I was telling my wife this as she was driving, I was like, is DraftKings so highly personalized that they know that I left the state 30 minutes ago and they're going to offer something to me so ridiculous to try to get me to turn around and go back and pump some money into the app? And what do you guys think? Was that just a weird situation, or are they really that good?
No,
the cell phone service is that bad in Iowa that it still thought you were there.
I knew there would be a joke there. No,
I've got another one, but it's at Mike's expense. So you go first, Kyle.
If it's an honest question, no, I think on Sundays, there's always a Sunday night prop push around the same time. So I bet you just happen to hit it.
But like that
But
good to
because
boost
no,
that to plus 10,000?
It's just because you're a new user. The very first weekend I signed up on DraftKings Sportsbook, I was in Iowa. I got a crazy bet like that it was Alabama versus Ole Miss last year. And it moved Alabama to win when they were like a live in-game bet when they were already up 14, I think, it was a scenario where I won $100. It was essentially the same thing. But they like how to,
That they know. Like, obviously, I don't place a lot of bets in the DK Sportsbook app because I spend most of my time in a non-betting state. But you're right, Jordan, because if it's too bad the max bet was $1, because that's what I told my wife. I was like, if we're throwing like, $50 and this $100 on this, we're turning around.
Yeah.
It was so funny enough when there was a similar one for my counterparts that are in Iowa for Justin Herbert to throw a touchdown pass tonight. They played against the Broncos, which was a much better defense than Josh Allen was facing. But I know somebody that took it, and you could do that one up to $50, but it wasn't quite as good a payout, obviously.
Yeah.
And he did not throw a touchdown.
So
take a shot,
Mike,
Jordan.
Now that you root for this, this other team that you're wearing and you're such a big fan, is that like your man card's totally gone? Your wife drives you, you're wearing Hawkeye shirts. Like what's left, Mike?
I'll be honest. We decided, after we went to the game, we had such a great weekend. Kids were not there. We had such a great weekend going to the game, acting like college students for 48 hours. And we said, you know what, it'd be really great to have a tradition that we could like really get our kids behind. And it could be a thing, and they could, we could travel to it, and they could feel really good about who they're cheering for. And we just feel like at a college level, we don't really have that in the Twin Cities. Obviously, with Virginia, that we're going to have that. We're going to take those trips to Charlottesville, but I can't do that all the time. And we just, we just don't have that in the Twin Cities. There's no programs that really.
I love it. You guys are very smart individuals, and I applaud your life choices.
Yeah, you successfully chose the most boring football team in college football to now be a fan of.
Yeah, but it's a fun city, though. It's a fun city.
That I'll give you that.
Anyways, so speaking of fun, because we consumed plenty, tonight I am drinking the latest in Junkyard's Pulp Fiction series. This one's called The Wolf. It's very good. Double dry hopped IPA. The only problem was I found out that my beer fridge was cracked open. I must have left the door open, so all the beer was not quite chilly.
Just today? This we need to dive in more here. Like not all weekend, right?
Well, I actually don't know, because I drank out of the cellar last night for Halloween. So no, you know what? I did load it up on Sunday, so it must have been on Sunday.
Ouch. That's the worst. Ours doesn't. The beer fridge, if you just like push it shut, it bounces open. So I've done it 3 or 4 times, and now I gently close it every time, and I check to make sure it's closed. There's nothing worse than coming down in the morning and just having a fridge full of warm beer,
which normally in the morning is when I'm going to the beer fridge to grab a cold beer.
No, but it's just like as your beer, you don't want your beer heating up and cooling down.
I know.
And it's right by our regular fridge. So
what else are you guys drinking?
I have a neighbor left this, the Bent Paddle Cosmic Lounge Hazy IPA. It's good. Nothing.
I actually had that on Sunday at my sister's place. It was
nice.
It was serviceable.
Yeah, that's a Bent Paddles seems to be known for
serviceable beers.
Good enough beers.
Yeah, it's nothing gonna blow your socks off, but it's not bad. I have Indie Day Tripper, something a little lighter this evening, but not fully ready to go. We're in the house, but still kind of haphazard. So
You
I'll
get
be
a pass.
bringing more heat in coming weeks. But hey, I don't have red wine tonight, and I actually have something. So ahead of the game.
There we go.
All right. Well, let's talk golf a little bit. Bermuda Championship, another PGA Tour event in the fall swing that I didn't watch. The chalk continues though because Seamus Power, one of the favorites in the field, I think he was highest in DK salary, ends up winning behind an absolute implosion by the guy that I picked last week on the pod, Ben Griffin, who I know, like, I didn't watch this. I asked my dad. I was like, what happened? He was 6 over on his last 7 holes to blow a 2-shot lead and finish 2 back.
I'm with you. He killed me there. I didn't see it either, but that one hurt because I went there with you. But on your chalk note, did pick up this one today from the BetSprit spot. 19 of the last 21 winners in the PGA Tour have been 40-1 or less.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
it goes down even, I believe it's 12 of those 21 were 28-1 or less.
Wow.
So it's kind of like when you're filling up your card, like at this point, yeah, maybe we used to just try to like make hay in the 70, or the 60 to 100 range, and now it's,
yeah,
take 3-4 guys.
I still just can't get myself to go hugely aboard, but probably, I don't know, my approach is probably going to be a guy or two in the 20s to try to plant my flag on and then still go up from there. Like, once that one guy that's 80 or 90 or 100, we've had one recently, hits, and if you're not on them, that's frustrating.
Yep. Well, at least in the listener league, a little quieter week in the RTG listener league, but Spicy won another win in the fall swing. Arano M2 getting another place, and then JYATD rounding out the top 3. I feel bad I couldn't crack the top 3 on a small field. Jordan, how'd you do this week?
Well, JYATD texted me shortly after he woke up and was like, "Hey, did you get your picks in?" And I was like, F. And he goes, "Hey, he goes, I won't get last place this week then." And then he ends up getting third. Yeah, I thought I had put him in after we talked on Tuesday night, and obviously never did, and didn't log back in to that one. So, do you remember who I picked last week? How'd my team do?
It wasn't good. How are you going to correct this week though?
Already submitted.
That's very poor. Very poor.
I've already submitted it for RTG, and now I need to get some others out there.
All right, I look forward to that. We our best expert of the week, Mike McClure, second week in a row that he finishes as the top expert in our model, on the backs of Seamus Power and Grayson Sigg, who had a pretty decent week, never really contended, but pretty good overall. Steven Yeager and Scott Piercy were our landmines, the only 2 guys in the top part of our model to end up missing the cut. Yeager, I think, was on the number and was one of it might have been our top play in the model. So I actually avoided him in all of GPP, which was good, but I was loaded up in cash, and that kind of hurt. Any other final thoughts on Bermuda?
Your boy Denny had a pretty good week.
I was kicking myself after I made the comment about Bermuda grass, and the 2 go-to guys have to be Denny and Patrick Rogers, and I think you probably could have put both those guys in a core and done pretty well.
Yeah, and I didn't play much Denny either. Just a 10-4 and a guy who hasn't won much. It was tough to get up to, but you look at the top 5 from DraftKings scoring. You have Seamus Power at 10-2. You have Thomas Dietrich at 10-5, and he came in second scoring. Ben Griffin, Patrick Rogers, and Denny McCarthy at 10-4. And Patrick Rogers is up there at 9,700. So you have 4 of the top 5 scorers over 9,700. And I'm going to say this and completely contradict myself in about 7 minutes, but chalk.
Well, I want to talk about chalk at Mayakoba because it's going to be a different kind of chalk. It's not going to be Seamus Power type chalk. It'll be Scotty Scheffler in a much stronger field. So if there's nothing else on Bermuda, we might as well just go ahead and talk about El Chameleon.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. Well, we get the Mayakoba The Worldwide Technologies Championship at Mayakoba, Quintana Roo, Mexico, at El Chameleon. Kyle, why is it called El Chameleon?
Because there's 3 different backgrounds for the course here. You have some jungle holes, you have wetland-based holes, and then you have ocean-based holes.
So a little bit of everything.
And did you know that I believe this is actually the last year this event will be at Mayakoba?
I did not know that.
You know why?
It'll be underwater next year.
Yes, and say global warming.
That's a great guess. It is designed by Greg Norman. So in the future, this event will host a shit tour event.
Which we already covered pre-pod while you were doing some other prep, and so I don't think I have any other comments to make. But there was a lot of live news today. Hit us up on Twitter.
No,
if you
there
want to
wasn't.
talk
Only
live.
you're the only person in the world that reads that article. So get out of here. We're done.
All right.
On to
Yes.
the next
Moving on.
thing.
Moving on. Yes. Much stronger field at Mayakoba. 13 of the top 50 in the world. So we're going to get some bigger names. Although we are still going to play this on a pretty short course. I think I was hearing that, you know, the par threes, I think all measure, or 3 of them measure under 150. So you're going to have, I mean, this course tips out at 7,000 yards. The par threes are short. So unlike last week where you could get away with hitting it long off the tee and playing the course extremely short, going to be a little bit more focus, a focus on second shot here. Driving distance not paying off quite as much.
I agree there. According to Rick Gaiman, rickroundgood.com, all the courses last year on the PGA Tour, or the last 3 years on the PGA Tour, driving accuracy mattered most here compared to anywhere. Because there's so much hazards if you get offline. Yeah, you might end up in the jungle, you might end up in the swamp, or you might end up in the ocean.
So that being
my
said,
Brian Herman week.
It's not. I think he's in the 9Ks. I think he's going to be.
He's not getting much love.
We got back-to-back winner Victor Hovland back-to-back, who is a longer driver, but a very accurate one when it comes to that. And this course also seems to really downgrade around the green play, which is great.
Well, why don't you give us, Kyle, the top 6 or 7 guys here in the model? Because I look at them, and outside of Hovland, it's like accurate ball strikers.
Yeah. So leading the way so far, we have Emiliano Grillo at 53% mention share. So a lot of love for a guy that's been playing really well, and 32 on the MPI at this time. So a little middling there. Victor Hovland, obviously getting a lot of love as well, 53% mention share, but pretty soft on the MPI so far. And then, can't believe he's popping up here, but I understand the reasons why at this course. Tom Hawkeyes, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that gentleman.
We'll get to him.
Play him anywhere but match play. Anywhere but match play.
46% mention share, 31 on the MPI. And then lastly, of this tier, I'll call it Aaron Wise, 10-2 on the salary, 40% mention share, and 12 on the MPI. And I'm glad we ended with Wise there, because this week we play on Paspalum greens. Have you guys ever played on Paspalum before?
I was going to ask the question, what is Paspalum, and see if Jordan maybe had a definition for us.
Grass.
So it is apparently a wider blade of grass.
I think I saw it in the dispensary in Chicago a couple weeks ago. That now it sounds familiar.
Yeah. I love it. It's a wider blade of grass that apparently plays slower. Obviously, there's reasons from a geographic standpoint they need it here, but it's supposedly similar to greens you might see in the northwestern United States as well. So slower greens, and Victor Hovland has been quoted as saying that he likes playing on that grass. Actually, all 3 of his victories have been on Paspalum greens. And so maybe that's something to look for. Unfortunately, we don't have strict strokes gain data from Mayakoba in the past, so it makes it a little harder. But Paspalum greens.
Do you know why certain guys like it's the type of guy that likes the Paspalum greens are the shitty putters? They don't have to worry about speed quite as much. They can just kind of hammer it around there and not worry about running things 6-8 feet by.
Well, yeah, and I guess PGA shitty putters go in a different category than average Joe shitty putters. But as a shitty putter, I really liked the greens when we played the RTG Open that were fast, and I didn't have to worry about speed as much because I knew it would get there. But
yeah,
it's an interesting point. That's a good debate. All right, well, Kyle, of those guys or anyone else below them, who would you kind of start? Where would you start your lineups?
I am gonna take one of them, and I know I'm probably stealing your thunder a bit, but I do think it's a great Tommy Tables course. Shorter, accurate drivers, and then just guy can dial in at the irons, can get hot with the putter, and doesn't matter as much around this green play. So I think that's a great Hoagie fit. 9,500 is a little higher than I would like to see.
That's kind of my thing.
But at the same time, I think I'm gonna go down board a little bit in my build this week. I mean, just to get into a general, game theory thought on building out lineups, you have Victor Hovland at 11-2. Pretty dang expensive, and he's going to be super high owned, and that's going to make you really dip down. You have Aaron Wise at 10-2, and I'm surprised he's getting as much mission share love as he is. I really like Aaron Wise as a player. Might go there a little bit in GPP, but that's going to be hard to take him over some of the other guys, either above him or to go down board. We'll get to somebody at 10-6 a little bit. I think one of you guys will highlight him, so I'll go away. But then you have Scotty Scheffler, 11-4, and I just don't know how you can go to Scotty right now. His putter, and granted, if he puts it all together, he could easily win. But especially in a cash game, I don't know how you can rely on that putter right now. So going down and starting with maybe two guys in the 9, I think makes a lot of sense to me this week.
Yeah, so that's where I was gonna go with my Tom take was you compare him at this course, the way that he sets up to this course, to anyone in the 10K plus range, and he's just as good of a fit as anybody or better. And so the $9,500 price point feels wrong, but I don't see a huge advantage spending up by $2,000 to go up to Scotty, given the way that Scotty has been playing on a course that's going to neutralize distance. So it just feels like I get the reason so many experts are on him, and I think that's what's going to push me there.
Yeah, that's well said. And again, for the listeners that I think we're looking at this more through a cash play lens. If you really like some guys down low, I think you can maybe rotate guys through, take some stands there, rotate some guys through at the top of the board to try to find those GPP style lineups. But cash, you want that floor. So I think Tom gives you that.
Who else?
Continue with that theme. I'm gonna go down to Justin Lower at 7,600. He's been real solid at 33% mention share. Middle of the road MPI at this point, but this last 4 outings, he's been 4th, 45th, 20th, and 8th. And there's been a lot of similar style courses lately, where you don't have to quite be as long as off the tee and, past bottom greens. This is our 3rd time of the last 4 events. So Justin Lower going to be part of my plays. And then of that note, Joel Damon at 7,200, 26 on the mention share. Again, a little lower than we'd like to see on the MPI standpoint, but he's last 30 events have been 13th, 37th, and 16th. And then he has good course history here at Mayakoba. He has never shot around over par. Granted, he hasn't spiked up to win, but he does have a T6 and a T20, and then hasn't been lower than 45th in his last 5 starts.
Well, I'd offer my core plays, but literally, Kyle, you just said all 3 of them.
Seriously?
Yeah. I would also comment JJ Spawn, who I would look at as a pivot to Joel Damon, very similar player, has great course history at Kyle's looking at the agenda here now and seeing my core plays. JJ Spawn could be a guy that fits that Joel Damon kind of characteristic that you just said. He's got great course history. Both of those guys pretty low on the power index, but that's probably because they are lower in salary and they're getting picked up by some of the experts that are value play focused. So,
well, since I stole your thunder there, and I apologize for not scrolling down, I said it was a little behind on prep this week. So
I know it's just funny. It's
what
literally
do
the
you
three.
think? What do you think of Colin Morikawa? And I skipped over him earlier, 10-6, but right now he leads the way for us in MPI. Scrolling over and looking who's on him is number 5, Mike McClure. Only gives out 2 picks. The lines, so that's John H over there, and then Ron Kloss at BetSperts. I'm surprised. I understand, I guess, the general thought behind him, but what do you think? What do you think there, Mike?
Yeah, Gaiman didn't give him a nod this week in his write-up, but he did talk quite a bit about him on the pod. And basically, Morikawa is arguably the best ball striker on the planet. And that has gone up and down. He's been pretty good. He just hasn't had the ceiling the last 12 months that he has had earlier in his career. But on a course that demands such good ball striking, you have to think the floor is pretty high for him, and pair that up with maybe not as demanding of a game around the greens or on the greens. I don't know. It's hard to go. I think that's the argument for all these guys in the 9K range that have been playing well. It's hard to go to these guys in the 10K plus that haven't been playing and just assume they're going to be great. But I guess if I think there's going to be an ownership break on Morikawa, I could see going there.
So the one I was going to bring up in the 10 was Horschel. I debated Hoagie and Horschel because there's a bunch of plays in like the low 7,000s, high 6,000s that you can easily make up the $5,000. I also picked Hoagie so far, but now I might go pick Horschel just because you two will both have Hoagie all over the place. But yeah, he's played well here. Good driver. I think Horschel is another good option.
For sure. Jordan, you're going to build your lineup, or you already built it, and you said you were going to who's in it? You usually give away your entire RTG lineup on the pod, so let's see what you got.
As of right now, right before you said Dahmen, I had Spawn and I switched it to Dahmen, and then he said Dahmen and you said Spawn. So Dahmen, Grillo, Hoagie, Long, lower, and I went Brendan Todd. So I've got 3 guys in the 9,000s, 3 in the 7,000s. I avoided the 10Kers for now. I may go Horschel versus Tommy Tables and rework.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think looking at where we're seeing the consensus, it's the 9K range and the 7K range. And I'm not seeing a lot of great plays in that 8,000 range. Maybe you could make an argument for Thomas Dietrich, who's been very good the last handful of weeks, but I don't need to pay $8,800 for Thomas Dietrich when I can get a bunch of other guys that are great fits right around that price point.
Yeah, if you want to get different and avoid the chalk this week, play the 8s, because I don't think many guys are going to catch much ownership in the 8s outside of maybe Dietrich.
Henley, 8,400. That's kind of all. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, what does tiers look like then? I haven't really checked into tiers, but what does that look like? Do we get any other interesting plays if we are going to play tiers this week?
We'll go down, and actually, I think the best place to highlight is that general range. So that happens to be tier 4 for us this week. It goes anywhere from 9K guys to 8,100. Brendan Todd, Thomas Dietrich, Russell Henley, Alex Noren, Andrew Putnam, and KH Lee. And at this point in time, I think that's actually going to be a pretty difficult decision. From a mention share standpoint, Brendan Todd, the Todd father, as Jordan mentioned, is leading the way. But there is the mention we have for Alex Noren is given it at BetSperts at this time, is given it the strongest MPI. And I did want to highlight Noren because although Pat Mayo did not put out an article this week on DK Nation, I did listen to a bit of his pod, and him and Ben Raza did talk about Noren as well. So I'm going to keep a close eye on that. At this point in time, I think I would lean Todd or maybe think about Dietrich. But if Norton picks up some steam in the next 24 hours, I might go there as well.
Nice, good call, leaning on the power index. All right, well, that leaves us with name game for Mayakoba. Just a quick recap on Bermuda. I liked the theme last week of golf themed names. I feel like we can go to that anytime we need one. And because we're only picking one guy, we had to do a little bit of prorating of scores to compare guys at different salaries. And here's how it shook out. Jordan with Adam Shank having an adjusted score of 91.5. Mike with Lucas Glover, adjusted score 81.2. Kyle, the highest priced player in the set, Adam Long, giving him an adjusted score of 80. And the listeners with Nate Lashley, an adjusted score of 101.7. So that is 2 wins in a row for the listeners. Kyle, please tell me why my math sucks.
Okay. So I disagree with this. So from a salary perspective, right? We have guys at 6K, we have guys at 11K. So that's a 5K spread on the salary. Where scores are only spreading from about 40 to, well, granted last week was higher, but 130 won the event. Mm-hmm. So if you're applying the same scale from salary to points, you're artificially incentivizing the cheaper guys.
I see what you're saying.
So I can't complain too much because if I'm the game maker, I need to figure it out myself. But in the future, if we're putting it to salary, I need to spend a little bit more time to figure out a more
that's an interesting point. Artificially incentivizing the cheaper guys. I would be curious if similar games, if someone at that like 7,000 range would always end up winning.
I mean, obviously, a guy misses a cut, it's not going to contend. But if we're probably, if a guy's like 30th and 10th, we might.
But that's where it's hard to say. Adam Shank was $8,700, and he loses this contest by an adjusted 10 points over a $7,000 Nate Lashley, who actually had a pretty good week. So I do think that Nate Lashley overperformed and Adam Shank underperformed, and that was the difference. But I agree, Kyle. There's probably something there to soften the adjustment a little bit.
Yeah, and this week it might have played out the same, but I'll figure out something. So,
hey, you're the guy with the business degree, so this feels like the quant skills are right up your alley.
So, Jordan, you were gonna say something.
No, I was gonna challenge the numbers, and then I realized no one cares. Kyle, we know who really won this week, Kyle, and it was me.
So maybe this week, since I came last and apparently really suck at this, we're gonna try to change it up. Mayakoba, it makes me think I'm sitting by a pool having a maybe a poolside themed cocktail.
A Mayakoba, yeah.
So there's some stretches here, but looking through the field, try to come up with some similar salaried guys that I could think of their name and maybe it could be a cocktail someday. So okay. we got 4 options. You can choose the drink, the Reeve, the Kazire, the Percy, or the Lipsky.
All right.
So
I like that, Kyle. Good job.
They are all pretty similar in salary, so no need to go dig in there. They're all in the 6K range. So Jordan, we'll let Jordan go first.
Winner gets to go first. Okay. So what were my names? Lipsky, Percy.
The Reeve, the Kazire, the Percy, or the Lipsky.
Reeve, Kazire. This would have been a good one to have me go last. I don't know any of these guys. I'm gonna go with the Reeve.
Okay.
That's a good pick. Good job, Jordan.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
All right. I think I think if I'm ordering a cocktail, a PGA Tour cocktail, I think it's got to be the Lipsky.
I thought that was the best fit too. Good pick. Well, this guy has been absolutely god awful lately, but I'm gonna take him. Pat and Kazire, give me the Kazire. I'm gonna say that's probably a rum-based cocktail, maybe a little pineapple
I think
juice.
so. I think
And,
he's likely still fishing his ball out of the backyard of one of the houses at the 3M after the practice round. It's the only shot I've ever seen him hit in person, and it was in a backyard.
Yep, with you there. And I don't want Scott Percy, so
Yep.
yeah. Sorry,
Valid.
listeners. You guys get Percy.
All right. Well,
so Kyle, I really thought you were gonna go with another Asian tour themed option here, because you've got you and Woo and Sue and Who all within I think $200 of each other.
I think we will get more of that this year. I mean, Kevin, that was a great one, Jordan. Kevin Yu is playing pretty dang well. Somebody to keep your eye on this week, I would say as well as Kevin Yu.
I was all over him last week, and I feel like the cat might be out of the bag at 6,900. He might attract some ownership as a solid flyer this week. So, final thoughts on the Mayakoba? Anything else?
Vic can't get 3, right?
Nah, that never happens.
No. So I'm obviously not betting Victor. That's this week. And by the way, sometimes you just got to take a stand. My stand on distance last week obviously didn't quite pay off. Adam Long was the best play, faded, kind of hung around, but then faded late. But I'm going Grillo 28. Justin Lower, man, 80. Tom Hoge at 30. Bobby Shelton at 80. And our boy Joel D at 70. So trying to keep finding those longer values. It's not going to be fun. Like, I'm never going to be a guy that's going to bet Vic and Colin and If I go 6-7 events without someone, maybe I'll take a stand and put 4 or 5 units on somebody under 20, but that's not very fun.
I get it. Everyone wants to win the long shot.
Yeah. Hey, it only takes one. You pay for the whole fall swing. I'm still up, way up on the year, and still up in the fall. So.
All right. Well, one thing that I didn't get to at the very, very beginning of the show, I wanted to shout out. And Jordan, we talk a lot about swag golf and NFTs and all that. Golf Digest on their sort of like popular interest podcast this week had a whole thing on NFTs and golf. And so go check it out if you have any interest. It is a very, very much a 101 level podcast, and probably about 2/3 of it is just the basics of NFTs in a very understandable way. He's got a couple of good sources that he quotes on it, and has other podcasts tied in. So it actually was pretty good, and talks a little bit about some of the projects, Jordan, we've talked about, like Links DAO and all that. So I don't know, give it a listen. I thought it was interesting. If you have any if you're intrigued at all, and otherwise I'll leave it at that.
Maybe during the holidays, if I'm busy, you guys can record a swag NFT pod.
We should.
All the people that.
It's been a ride. And we didn't talk about it, and we won't get to it now at the end of the show. But it's been a ride the last couple of weeks. Lots of ups and downs. So at some point, you're right. We'll have a couple of slow weeks, and we'll have some fun. All right. Well, you can find our content on our YouTube channel. New episodes every Wednesday. Same with any major podcast platform. Of course, any day of the week on Twitter. We are talking golf DFS. We'll be back in a week to talk about the results of the Mayakoba and keep going with the fall swings. All right. Go Hawks.
Woo!